Do you suffer from lifestyle deficit disorder? The purpose of the Perfect Day podcast is to share simple steps and strategies as a powerful antidote to lifestyle deficit disorder. Listen in as I reveal a path away from disillusionment and dissatisfaction to a life of purpose, joy, and freedom, making every day a perfect day. Welcome to the Perfect Day podcast. I'm Cokie, author of The Perfect Day and founder of Perfect Day Connect. Today is a very exciting day because I have with us here Molly B. Wright, who is an artist phenom, and I get the pleasure of sharing with Molly here today that she brings perfect days to me every single day when I wake up and I walk into my living room. So I have Molly here to talk about her amazingly sought after pieces of art. Molly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Cokie. Great to be here.
Yes, and I have been waiting and dying to ask this question. And it's a loaded question, as you know, because I've asked you to bring these bottle caps, because never, ever have I been able to ask an artist the question, what's your medium? And the answer is...
Bottle caps.
Bottle caps. I mean, how perfect is that? When do you ever get to say your medium is bottle caps? So I think our listeners really want to hear how you got started. I know most of our listeners are going to be in awe of the idea that you're an artist who's become so successful, and how have you done that? But we'd love to know, what was the genesis, or how did you start, or what was the idea, or was there a defining moment? So will you help take us back to whatever beginning you'd like to?
Okay, Cokie. I got started with the bottle caps about 12 or 15 years ago. I was painting then and doing small narrative paintings, and they were about things that people save. And bottle caps is one of those things. And what I mean by things that people save, the inspiration for that was my grandparents grew up in the Depression, and they saved everything. And I remember as a child going through my grandmother's desk, and there would be just, tons of rubber bands, there would be string, there would be pencils that were 2 inches long that she held on to. And I guess it made an impression on me. And so I was doing these paintings about things that people collect and save and just don't let go of. And bottle caps was one of those things that occurred to me, because it was something that I saved as a child. I had a collection of bottle caps. But it's also one of those things that you find in people's junk drawers, corks or bottle caps. So anyway, that's how it started. But I had a hard time depicting the bottle caps in these paintings, and so I decided...
I can't imagine why. I mean, gosh.
Yeah, it looked like stacks of coins or something. You just couldn't really tell what it was. So I thought, well, maybe I'll use them along the edge of the painting, sort of on the frame or something. But then I thought, well, that looks just too... I didn't like the way that looked. It looked a little kitschy or something. And so I had this old piece of metal that I had been saving, and it was a large sheet of metal, and it was rusty, and it looked to me like the Shroud of Turin. And you could almost imagine a face in there. And so I took some paint and manipulated it and made the face more apparent. And then I did a halo of bottle caps.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not religious, but it seemed like what the piece wanted to be. And so I made that halo of bottle caps, and I just loved the way it looked. And so then I thought it needed a companion piece, yin yang, it needed a female piece.
Yes.
And so I did a version of the Virgin Mary to go with it. But on that piece, I filled in the halo with the bottle caps because I just couldn't get enough of them.
Uh-huh.
And that was very successful, but then I just thought, well, maybe I can take it a little further. It was good, but it wasn't quite enough. So
And what did further look like?
Well, I was afraid at first that if I put them on the face that it wouldn't read, that nobody would be able to tell that would just look like a mess. But I tried it and I was very surprised that it looked pretty good.
It is incredible. And in fact, I've got a visual here for any of the viewers. I'm not sure if my screen turns out really well, but the gallery in your website at mollybewright.com, the gallery is amazing. And I can look at these, and I own one, and hashtag Helen of Troy. I own one, and I don't know how you do get the faces to look so face-like. I mean, it's truly an art.
Well, thank you. It's evolved quite a lot, I got to tell you, because when I first started doing this, I wasn't a very good portrait painter. I was just painting small paintings, and I wasn't very good with faces. And the first pieces were very primitive looking, and like the bottle caps were just laid next to each other and glued on, and you could see the painting behind it. You could see the glue oozing out between the caps. So it was really rough and primitive. But then as I made more, I refined the technique and started hammering the bottle caps to flatten them out so they would so I could overlap them like this scales on snake skin or something. And then that hid the glue, and it just made it a lot cleaner looking,
right.
and I was able to make it more defined. And then the more I did, the better I got with painting, and they started looking less primitive. They looked very folk arty at first and it wasn't that I was trying to be that way. That just was the best I could do.
Right.
But they've gone.
Well, you
changed
can't.
a lot.
You can't get any better. I mean, I hate to say that because I'm a grower. I like to grow every day, but I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can crank out any better work. It just is amazing.
Well,
and I know I get asked all the time how people commission you. I understand, and at least I know I commissioned you by reaching out to you from your website via email. So is that the best way?
That is the best way.
Awesome. And, what you just painted, didn't mean the pun, but what you just put together was this, I saw almost this piece of art that you were making, and how you said it was primitive in the beginning and glue was showing, and that it is involved into, what's in my living room. I see a lot of entrepreneurs in the same way as we start off in our businesses. Is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my first business card, or I can't believe the quality of the business plan I initially had, or the quality of the product I would crank out to my clients. And so I think you get the beautiful benefit of seeing an end beautiful product. So I had to touch on that. I would like to ask, because I do think that our listeners could benefit from a discussion on what I call lifestyle deficit disorder. You as an artist, and I think I take it as a big sailor as well, don't look very long in the tooth in the way of lifestyle deficit disorder. But I talk about this in the book in the way of just, the entrepreneur or the everyday person who is living on the hamster wheel and a never-ending to-do list. And I guess I would love for you to share, your art practice and your studio is booming and doing so great. Was there a day in which, maybe in the beginning days or maybe today, that you felt like you've had lifestyle deficit disorder? And if so, what did that look like and feel like?
I think I've been experiencing a little bit of that lately as I've gotten so busy. But the thing is that I'm making up right now for a lot of time sailing in the summer, And right now it's too cold to sail. And so I'm really finding that I need to prioritize seasonally, really.
I was going to use the word seasons, because aren't there's seasons that we can go into and out of. And I think sometimes if we can put a mindset on it of guess what, I don't have lifestyle deficit disorder right now because it's winter. And I'm supposed to be shitting or getting right now, pardon me, but this is the time. It's like there's times when we can make hay, and if you don't have lifestyle deficit disorder, as it sounds you may not, it means that when summertime comes around, you've done enough in the wintertime that you can sail all summer long.
Right.
Does that sound fair?
Right, that does sound fair. And it's taken a little while to figure that out because I didn't. Maybe I sailed a little too much during the summer and the spring, and then I felt like I had to be on the hamster wheel to really make up for time. I was falling a little bit behind in my work, and people were having to wait longer than I would like to get their pieces.
I'm glad you qualified it with that, because I was going to challenge you and say, were you really falling behind? Were you really not doing enough? But you physically saw that your pieces were maybe taking a little bit longer than usual.
They were taking a little bit longer, yes. And then that also translates financially.
Right. Because I bet the customer's going, yeah, I really, 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 really want it, Molly. Where is it? But of course I'll wait as long as it takes. But you're on the other end going, where's the revenue model? I need to crank out more pieces, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I try not to, focus too much on that, the money, but I have bills to pay like everyone else and a child in college, and so it's something that you do have to stay on top of. So anyway, as fall, winter came along, and I started feeling a little bit of some financial insecurity, I decided, well, I'm just going to really start working harder and. Or not harder, but longer hours.
Right.
I was pacing myself a little too easily.
How's that working out for you?
It's doing great.
Is it? Okay.
I saw that you had this a post the other day about New Year's resolutions, and that was one of my resolutions, to work more effectively.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Well, I think this is a good time to go to commercial break. I can also tell you that yesterday was ditch your resolution day.
Uh-oh.
So maybe yesterday or today you're going to, ditch working more effectively. I wouldn't suggest it. But with that, we'll be right back with you with Molly Wright and the Perfect Day podcast. Did you know you have lifestyle deficit disorder? I bet you do. Not sure how you got to me here today, but the chances are, if you're amongst most entrepreneurs and business owners out there today, you're plagued with this condition called lifestyle deficit disorder. You're overworked, you're overtaxed, your endless to-do list and your constant quest for money and revenue are driving your days. Your business is driving your life, and your life is not driving your business. These are all common challenges that we see amongst business owners who are suffering from lifestyle deficit disorder. Hi, I'm Cokie Barini. I thank you so much for joining me here today, because I'd really like to introduce to you a proven process that's the cure to lifestyle deficit disorder. This is the process that not only did I need to use for myself, who suffered from lifestyle deficit disorder, but a proven process that I use that has helped get my clients to a perfect day lifestyle. Is this what you seek? Endless days that I call perfect? I say perfect days are possible, and no, they're not about perfection. Well, this process may be 10 years old. I've been working since December 2015 to leverage this for you. That's right. You may be in Boston, you may be in Seattle, you may be in New York, you may be in Philly. I have designed a way to make this affordable and accessible to you no matter where you are. So you will pay a fraction of the cost that my premium clients have paid to have access to this process. So what I've done is I've packaged and leveraged this program into what I call the Perfect Day Connect. It's easy to absorb. You'll be able to go through it at your own pace. It'll take a minimum of 3 weeks. You'll have all the tools and everything you need accessible to you in all learning styles. But real quick, before you go, you know what I want you to know? There's nothing else to buy here. There's no other gimmicks. This is not a never-ending do-it-yourself online trick. What I'm going to give to you in the Perfect Day Connect course is everything you need for perfect day success. So you'll have everything downloadable, of permanent nature on your hard drive that you get to keep forever. So you'll always have a framework, and you will have everything you need at the end of this course for perfect day success. So are you ready to cure your lifestyle deficit disorder? The Perfect Day Connect is the answer to liberate your relationships, your business, and your life. Make it a perfect day. Welcome back to Perfect Day Podcast. I'm here with Molly Wright, and I have to share with you something we just talked about on break. Molly was sharing with us about her pieces. You know, we're using the word perfect, and in Perfect Day and in the Perfect Day mindset, I always caution against perfect because nothing's ever perfect. But I loved, we were sort of discussing with Molly about her pieces. Are they ever done? And the fact that she said, sometimes, could you quote that again? It's about them being, oh, it's good enough.
Sure. Sometimes I look at a piece and I think, well, this aspect of it is good enough. It does, maybe it could be a little bit better, but no, that's good enough. But then if I have to be willing to not settle for good enough. It's really got to be great.
I love that.
And so if there are things that I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's good enough, then inevitably I wind up ripping it out and redoing it, because I don't want to give something to somebody and wonder, are they going to, is this little thing that's bothering me, is it going to bother them? I just want it to be as good as it possibly can be, and then I know it's done.
I love good enough is not good enough. It's got to be great.
It's got to be great.
And you know what? There's a piece of me that feels like you don't understand potentially what you give to people when you turn over this amazing piece of art. Yes, they've commissioned it, and yes, they pay you, but it truly, truly brings me a perfect day when I walk in and look at Helen of Troy and I see what I see as perfection. So it's clear when I look at my Helen of Troy that good was not good enough for you. And it just is a special, special thing. I wanted to bring this post to mind, or to show you, that was on your Facebook feed. And the only thing I would change about the words of the author was, she says, it's a good day when you've got Iris keeping watch on you, making sure you get some style in your client's photo shoot. This is someone who had commissioned Iris and Apfel. Iris Apfel. All of a sudden the name was jumping out of my brain because she's just so beautiful and unique and fun. What I would change is it's not a good day, it's a perfect day. It's a perfect day when fire trucks go by and you're recording a podcast. But like this individual, just like myself, it's a good day, but it's a perfect day when I walk in and I get to see a piece of your art. So it's obvious you take it very, very seriously. I know that listeners would want to know, as an artist, how do you create more perfect days in your life? Is there a particular formula? We talked a little bit about lifestyle deficit disorder and about that hamster wheel and how you can get on it. And maybe that's the winter time for you. And maybe a piece of it's just simply mindset, that you tell yourself, oh, that's right, it's winter, and so it's okay. But are there other strategies or other things that you do to stave off the lifestyle deficit disorder or that darkness? And would you share with us? I know it'd be interesting from an artist's perspective as well as from a business owner.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I like a lot about winter is that the sunrise comes kind of late. Like right now, the sunrise is at 7:20. So that's reasonable for me to be able to get up out of bed and get outside with the dog, maybe on the beach or down at the Battery, and see the sunrise and get there about 20 minutes beforehand. And so seeing that beauty just fills me with joy first thing in the morning. And so I have to incorporate those little breaks into my day. It's not every day that it's the sunset, but probably a couple times, maybe 3 times a week. I mean the sunrise. But I also will go outside at lunch and just sit outside on the steps of my studio and soak up some vitamin D and
Nice.
look at the bright blue winter sky. And
I just wrote about that yesterday, saying
Did
that
you?
part of a perfect day I have to have been outside. There's a piece of that. I love the soaking up the vitamin D. Yes.
Yeah. And then, so that's winter. So, and then in the summer, I try to often, it just depends on the tides and the weather and the wind. And if everything is just right to sail at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening after the work is done, then that just caps it off. And so, hopefully the perfect day starts with the sunrise. It has very little internet time.
Right.
Limited social media, maybe answering some emails, but getting
Which is a very good segue, because I suspect I know the answer to this. Has digital media, social media, has it played any role in just your business exploding? I know what would you say in the last, 6 to 8 years that your business has taken off in a different way? Am I right with
has.
that? And would you attribute that to anything?
Yes.
Other than hard
has, I
work
think.
and amazing product?
Instagram has really been a huge thing for me. And I was on social media, for a long time with Facebook, but something about Instagram
Your
seems
Instagram
to have-
feed is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
But it's introduced me to a whole new audience. People who follow design and home design seem to find me. And maybe that's through a lot of the interior designers who follow me or who use my work in their jobs. And so that exposes me to another audience that wouldn't have otherwise have found me.
Well, and not to mention, you have a gallery in the hand of every single human being walking on the face of the planet that's over the age of 18. They all have a smartphone. They all have Instagram for the most part. Molly Wright Studio is the Instagram handle, Instagram name. And it's a marvel for the eye to go to your Instagram account. It's really great.
Thank you. I think it's actually Molly B. Wright, isn't it? Or is it not?
It's Molly Wright Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do I
Yes.
know?
But yeah, well, you're an artist. You know bottle caps. So I have to ask, as I hold a cherry bomb bottle cap, when you're melding this onto one of your pieces of art, is there ever a moment where you're like, I've got to put it down. I have to step away. And what is letting you know that? Is it?
It's my stomach.
Okay.
Usually.
I love it.
I work until I'm too hungry to go
It's not because
on.
it's happy hour.
No, it's food.
It's food. Okay.
Or the weather.
You've heard it
if
from
it's-
the starving artist, right? She's hungry. That's when she puts it down. Yeah. I would imagine it would be hard to step away from the art once you get moving. So.
It is. It's hard when you really get into the flow, and
Sure.
then you don't even think about your hunger level or any discomfort.
Right.
You know what I mean by the flow.
Yeah.
When you're just,
Absolutely.
time just goes by quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have no idea how long you've been working.
Yeah. So we also talked at break about, we're talking a little bit about social media and talking about Facebook. You know, I held a Perfect Day workshop here in Charleston, the very first of its kind. It was a major success, and I'm not bragging or breaking my arm on any of my efforts, but I think it was a major success because we really pointed to how chaotic and how last year was such a tumultuous year, and everything you're reading and seeing is just so negative. And so how do we try and create more perfect days in our lives? And that message resonated with quite a few locals. So we had a great workshop. This is my mission. My mission is to hope to make more perfect days for people so that our Facebook feeds do not get the best of us, and so that we can actually be the light and the happiness and the joy on Facebook or otherwise. But, you know, one of the things I talk about is called a broken happy meter. And, you know, Facebook is the worst of it. It's like, you know, you pull it up, and maybe not recently, but in years past, it's like, oh, you know, the PTA mom who is, you know, skinny and beautiful and holding, you know, 3-legged orphaned cheetahs that she's saved from Africa, and while she's handing out gluten-free bonbons at the soccer game. And it's like, what? You know, I'm not good enough. I'm not. And so if you use this as your measuring stick as to what we should be doing, it's unfortunate because we're sort of measuring our perfect days to maybe look like somebody else's. So,
right. And that's not even their perfect day, probably. They probably took 20 photos to get that one, you know, seemingly perfect one.
Well, you get it. I mean, I can't pull the wool over you. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But the broken happy meter in Facebook, I feel like has righted itself a little bit. But limiting social media is a huge part of eliminating lifestyle deficit disorder. I mean, the amount of hours that we put into social media or just screen time is an energy suck. So any other strategies, or I know there's something that you haven't shared with us, and where do you derive your inspiration for non-commissioned pieces?
For non-commissioned pieces, I often meditate about what it is that I want to do to get an idea, and I have a list of possible ideas that I can turn to.
I would love to have an eye on that list. I bet you that's a very highly secret, tucked in your little black book somewhere.
What else do I do? You know, I really don't have much time to make pieces that aren't commissions anymore, and that's something that I would, thank you, but that's something I would like to focus more on this year, is being able to get more pieces of my own into the world.
So Molly, in closing, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I can't say enough how in awe of your work that I am, and I know that the listeners and everyone can relate to the struggles, not only of an artist, but of a business owner. And we all have different versions of perfect days. And so if we were to be sitting here a year from today, or if I were to stroll into your studio and ask you what made 2018 a perfect year, or what was so great about 2018, if you could pick, how about I just say one thing? And not that it's the most important thing in your life, but if there was one thing that you're not doing today, but that you aspire to do in the future that would make it a perfect day, what might that thing be?
I think to make it a perfect day, I will have found the time to make a portrait for myself, and it would be of my daughter.
I love that. I mean, for an artist to make your own piece and hang it in your own home is a very big deal, wouldn't that be?
I think so.
Yeah, and of your
Me, it would
daughter.
be.
I love that. It does truly sound like a perfect day. So thank you so much, Molly. Molly B. Wright of Molly Wright Studio on Instagram and mollybwright.com online. Of course, if you've missed any of the show, you can find the replay on my website or on any of the your favorite podcasting platforms, iTunes or Google Play. And until next time, what are you going to do to make today a perfect day?